Next year, Lamborghini's baby V10 will be 20 years old, and it's fair to say it's been extremely well received by the supercar world. The Gallardo was launched in 2003 as a successor to the Jalpa, Lamborghini's V8 powered entry-level car of the 80s, which was at one point to be succeeded back in 1995 with the Carla, but the project was shelved after the VW group took ownership of Lamborghini.
This isn't one of the first Gallardos ever built. This was built in 2005, but it is a special edition. Now honestly it is. I mean, I know pretty much every Lamborghini these days is a special edition, but this was the first special edition of the Gallardo. It's even got SE after its name, which obviously it stands for special edition. Quite rare too. Just 250 Gallardo SEs were ever built, and just a handful of those had one of these sticks to change gear with. Otherwise, you were left with the single clutch semi-automatic E-gears, which, as we know these days, manuals just seem to be more sought after. Unlike a lot of modern Lamborghini Special Edition cars, this was more than just a paint job. It had specially designed Callisto wheels, stiffer sport suspension, shorter gear ratios, and they tuned an extra 20 brake horsepower out of that 5-litre V10. There was cosmetic changes as well. You had the black roof and black engine cover, and it has this interior which is two-tone black with whatever the exterior colour is. So in this yellow SE it's quite bright. It's very Lamborghini. Now with the power increase of an extra 20 brake horse, it sent the total output up to 513, which meant this had 30 brake horsepower more than your Ferrari F430. Okay, so some of that might have been absorbed by the front diff, as this still has four-wheel drive, but then it is such a torquey motor. Something I didn't realise about the older 5-litre Gallardos was that the sound so different to the later 5.2s. Not something I'd really realised until now. It's like it's a lot less boomy and it screams. I mean, you can really hear the difference on this one because it has a Brook racing exhaust with Inconel pipes, and it's actually a one-of-one exhaust. It really opens it up. It's fair to say though that this Gallardo SE in years to come might be seen as quite a collectible thing, and especially being a manual as well. I mean, you could almost start to compare it to a Balboni, maybe. I know this still has the four-wheel drive, so it's not quite got the same drivability that you get from the two-wheel drive Balbonis, but it's still a very, very usable car. Now the owner of this car previously had a Superleggera, and he traded it in, tried something else out, and then went back to Lamborghini, but went for this, which you might think is a bit of a downgrade, but he argues that because it's a manual instead of the E-gear, it's more enjoyable, and it does sit really nicely on the road. Now don't get me wrong, it's not without its faults. If you try to blip the throttle when you're standing still, it's a massive delay, probably from the drive-by-wire, all programmed into the ECU. The infotainment system is so out of date. Best thing you can do is just turn it off. Oh, and the four-wheel drive system is Well, it's nowhere near as good as you get in the modern cars, that's for sure. It feels a little bit uneasy if you're braking hard into a bend. And then it doesn't quite let you set it up on the exit when you stamp on the throttle. But I'm splitting hairs here. I mean, it's an older car, of course. Things aren't going to work as well as they will on the later stuff. Only a few days ago I was driving the new STO, so I mean it would be very unfair to compare it to that. One thing that I will say though is the steering on this has so much more feel to it than the later Huracan. You can feel absolutely everything, and that's something that just seems to be lacking in a lot of modern cars. All these electric power steering systems, they're just not as good. It's actually quite difficult to talk because I'm just enjoying myself too much. Oh. That drivability of it, the engagement, feeling everything that the car's doing and having to work the gear stick. Love all the cars like these. The noughties was definitely one of the best eras. And you could compare this to the cars that we did in the Christmas special, the class of 2003. It's got that same rawness. Obviously this is a little bit more usable because it's not as track focused, but it's got that same character, but shares that period when reliability in supercars became a thing, even for the Italians.
But do you agree? Would you have gone back to the Superleggera or gone newer and got a Huracan? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.